Titans, go!
Hello again, Titans fans. Welcome back to Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, here in Titans Tower, ready to talk Titans Season 2 with my other co-host, the Titans' favorite co-host, Jesse Jackson. Hi, Jesse. How are you?
I left my heart in San Francisco. Hey, Charles, I am really... I'm excited about that little twist, and I know we'll get to that more, but it is good to be back talking Titans after a very long
Summer,
yes.
Yes, yeah. So here at episode 37 of Titan Talk, we're going to talk Trigon, the first episode of Titans Season 2. It's been a good long wait for about a year now, but we're back. And we're back from the fandom zone, as Jesse and I, for those who have been keeping up with us, hopefully you have, we've been on the Fandom Zone podcast that we do. Over the summer we talked Krypton Season 2, which sadly ended up being canceled. Hopefully will be picked up by DC Universe or some other, or perhaps HBO Max or some other streaming service. We'll see. And then we did an episode where we kind of recapped The Boys Season 1, which is the Amazon Prime series based on the Dynamite Entertainment comic by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson, which a lot of people have been enjoying. So
absolutely,
we did that as we kind of waited around for Titans Season 2. That kind of helped fill the gap for us. So we're back. We're back. Titans Tower is back open for business, literally, as we find out in this episode, at the end of the episode, and we'll talk about that, obviously. But, so Jesse, before we get started, how great was it to finally watch some more Titans episodes?
It was really great. We'd had a busy weekend, so I didn't get a chance to watch it till really almost 11:30 last night.
Really?
Yeah, and so just a full weekend.
Just under the wire.
Yeah, and so and we came back from watching. We'd gone to family LSU University of Texas watching party, and Linda said, "Are you tired?" And I said, "Well," I need to do my homework, and I said, so I don't have to get up in the morning and watch it." And she said, "Oh, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed." We had spent the Saturday watching Stranger Things. She's decided she wanted to join it, and I've been wanting to watch it. And by the way, she's loving it, and she's like, and I have no idea why, because this is not the kind of show I would normally watch.
Stranger Things is a great show, obviously.
Yeah, so I was excited about seeing this, and then I went, I'm almost glad I delayed watching it, because that way I was kind of anticipation, and it paid off. I mean, I feel like, spoilers, I just feel like this was I have a few nitpicks, but a great way to start the season.
Right. Before we get into our main discussion, generally I enjoyed this episode quite a bit. I like the fact that essentially it cleans house. From Season 1. We had a lot of dangling loose threads. For those who don't know, this story was essentially supposed to be episode 12 of Season 1. And they decided, the showrunners, which I presume are Akiva Goldsman, Jeff Johns, and Greg Walker, they decided, okay, well, let's just make episode 11 a cliffhanger, and end the season on that, and then kind of carry things over to basically carry episode 12 over to season 2. And I don't know if they decided to make some changes along the way as a result. Maybe they didn't know if they were going to get a season 2. Who knows? But essentially what this episode is, the way it's structured, as it's like the first 2/3 are the kind of the wrap up to Titan season 1.
Yes.
And then like the last 10 minutes or so, maybe the last 15 minutes, I'm not sure. Essentially it starts off season 2, really. We kind of pick things up. Some time has passed a little bit, and Deathstroke is introduced. And it kind of feels, essentially from the moment that, like Trigon is taken care of, it starts feeling like a completely brand new series. And so it's a little disjointed, but I think they need to do some necessary housekeeping.
Yeah, I think that is you've absolutely pushed. You've highlighted my nitpick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna Monday morning quarterbacking or Monday morning show running.
Well, isn't it more Sunday morning quarterbacking in our case right now?
So.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have finished this.
Yes.
I would have gone ahead. I wouldn't have had the cliffhanger. In fact, I think the scene at the end where they kind of pull back would have been a great way to end the season.
Yes.
So, like I said, it's a small nitpick. I like the way they wrap things up very quickly. So, yeah. But it's very clear that this was... And they've done some other retro changes in it as well that I think we'll talk about.
Yeah, because, about a year ago, roughly, when we talked about Titan Season 1, and, we kind of talked about how that Season 1 finale, the Episode 11, Dick Grayson, wasn't entirely satisfying.
Right.
And I agree with you. I think this was a kind of a poor creative decision to split this up, to make Dick Grayson a cliffhanger episode and hope that everybody would come back for season 2. I thought they really should have ended a little stronger than they did. But this kind of sweeps the floor and tidies things up, and hopefully going forward it'll feel a little more together, to use a Titans term.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So before we get into this, we got a couple of new characters introduced in this story.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, so let's talk about them really quickly before we get started. We get the debut of Iain Glen from Game of Thrones, who, of course, played Ser Jorah Mormont, a.k.a. Sir Friendzone to a lot of people, and on Game of Thrones. He makes his debut as an older Bruce Wayne. And we're going to talk about him in our third segment when we talk about Bruce and Dick. But it was kind of a pretty interesting debut to have an older Batman in this continuity. Although, of course, I don't think we'll ever get to see Iain Glen dressed up as Batman.
No, I don't think
as
so
far
either.
as I'm guessing, but we'll just probably see him as Bruce Wayne. We get Esai Morales as Deathstroke, who I thought had a pretty solid introduction. Jesse's giving 2 thumbs up on that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about him. Yeah.
Yeah. If the name sounds familiar, you're probably a fan of the show Caprica, the Battlestar Galactica spin-off series. He played Joseph Adama on Caprica, which is where I first really got to know him. Although a lot of people, he was in La Bamba, the movie La Bamba. He was on NYPD Blue.
Yes, that's where I first knew him. He was really good on NYPD Blue.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm sure a lot of people know him from a lot of different places because he's been around quite a while, obviously.
Yes.
I thought he was good, solid on Caprica. So, I was okay with him being cast as Deathstroke, and he makes a pretty good-looking Deathstroke.
He does, and I'm looking Wintergreen, Demora Barnes. I guess you're about to get to him.
Exactly.
He looked really good too.
Yeah.
I thought he came across really nice.
Yeah, they obviously changed his character up. William Wintergreen, that's who Damar Barnes plays in this story.
Yeah.
From the comics, from the Titans comics,
Yeah.
Wintergreen was essentially like old British military officer guy.
Yeah.
And so
it's his version of Alfred.
Essentially, yeah, it's Deathstroke's Alfred, although they're more friends.
Yes.
Than more of a master-servant relationship.
Right.
Wintergreen kind of serves as Deathstroke's assistant in this role, but yeah, he's essentially He's basically Deathstroke's version of Alfred, which makes him a good counterpart to Batman in that regard.
Yes, absolutely.
If you've seen him before, he played Tokamak, the villain Tokamak, on The Flash.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember him from season 2, the Firestorm villain that he played on that series. He was also recently on American Gods as Mr. Ibis.
Yes.
Where probably a lot of people, I know Jesse's watched American Gods, so you probably recognize him from there as well.
Yeah, I did.
And, we got a return, of course, of Seamus Dever as Trigon. And we got Rachel Nichols in presumably her last appearance as Angela Azarath.
Yes.
Who ends up getting killed by Trigon, and we'll talk about that, obviously.
Yes.
So, not really a good end for old Angela.
Not exactly shocking. I kept waiting for that to happen, but yes, it's still
pretty much.
Yeah. Don't dance with the devil.
Exactly.
Literally.
Under the pale moonlight, to use a Batman term. So we got 4 topics I want to talk about.
All right.
First one, I want to talk about, and I actually do have a theme this week.
Oh, okay.
So, first topic, darkness. And this I want to talk about the Dark Titans. The Titans essentially succumbing to the evil of Trigon. They end up getting those nice little black eyes with the kind of goth eye makeup. And as they become under Trigon's power. And that actually was a nod to the Marv Wolfman and George Perez New Teen Titans in the Volume 2 that they did, the Baxter series. If you remember from 1984, it was actually issue number 4, Torment, where we kind of got to see the dark versions of the Titans. In the comics, they had red eyes. And they were kind of depicted as kind of like negative image versions of themselves. But here they decided to go a little cheaper route and just, put black contacts in them and kind of smeared some bad eye makeup on them.
And I actually think that worked better.
You think so?
I think on the TV show. Yeah, I think that
simple was best.
Simple was best. Just showing the kind of it was very easy to see, easy recognized. Yes, there was darkness not on just the edge of town, but everywhere on this with these our Titans.
So, yeah, I was waiting for you to kind of work in a Springsteen reference there.
Always.
Yes. Although I have a different pop singer in mind.
Okay, very nice.
Or pop band in mind.
Okay.
Put it there. So let's talk about the Dark Titans here. So one by one, we kind of see the Titans succumbing to Trigon's influence. Obviously, we start off with Dick, who's already, because of the season 1 finale, Dick Grayson cliffhanger, that he was already under Trigon's thrall. And we kind of see him going after Gar and Rachel. And, it's kind of a pretty cool moment where, like, they're kind of hiding out in this bedroom, and the pictures on the wall, their eyes, the people in the pictures, their eyes start bleeding. So it's a very haunted house type setting, and that Trigon's trying to scare them. And Dick starts pounding on the door and trying to, confront them and kind of playing on Raven's hopes that she can somehow bring him back.
Yeah.
And he kind of taunts her about that. And so what did you think about that?
So I liked all of this. the idea of, first off, I was really glad we got a payoff, because one of our complaints last year was all of a sudden we cut to Hank and Dawn, and she's like, "Oh, we got to go get Jason Todd."
Yep.
And we're like, where did that come from? That seemed out of context. But by putting this together, you could tell they were playing with the timeline a little bit.
Yeah.
So this was happening while other things were happening. And so we got all our Titans in one place.
Right. And again, that's probably why this episode would have worked better as a season 1 finale.
Absolutely. But I loved, because ultimately Raven was right. Rachel was right? She knew she could get to Dick, and she did.
Right.
But at first, no. And he's very, not quite, but a little taste of The Shining with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Here's, with his
it should have been
eyes
here's
going through.
Dickie.
Yeah, exactly.
He even punches through the door.
Yes.
Which is kind of a little nod to Jack Nicholson using the axe to get through the door in The Shining.
Yes, absolutely. I loved everything about this. I don't know the individual storylines, where each of them being dark, how you saw Trigon's human self in each place.
Well, we can run those down really quickly if you want.
Yeah, Hank, see, it'll all go away. It'll all go away.
Yeah.
And that's it. It is always chilling to me, and I have to look away when I watch someone shoot up.
Right.
Now
you can't hit, like in Hank and Dawn's case, because to kind of set this up is that in the Titans get split up as they try to enter the house.
Right.
And so in the Hank and Dawn scenario, it's kind of it takes place after when we had the Hank and Dawn episode from season 1, where we found out that they essentially presumably killed the coach that sexually abused Hank as a kid.
Right.
And they're kind of it almost feels like it's taking place after that. And Hank offers Dawn what I presume is heroin.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
And like he cooks it right in front of her, and then offers her a needle, and she shoots up, and to take that pain away. Mm-hmm. And so you kind of see him as a corrupting influence, and that's what kind of I think she gets corrupted because she agrees to take the needle, the injection.
Right.
And then he becomes corrupted because he's the one pushing the drugs on her.
Absolutely.
But so it's very interesting. Corey, when she goes inside the house, she's confronted by Rachel and Gar, who we think are the real Rachel and Gar.
Right.
And Rachel's basically telling her, hey, kill me. Mm-hmm. That's the only way to stop Trigon.
Yeah.
That's what you were sent here to do. And Corey's very reluctant at first, but then she kind of gives in. And her eyes glow, and then she starts to choke Rachel, and then Gar kind of knocks her away to kind of help sell the scene.
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
And then so Corey kind of uses her flame powers and essentially cooks Rachel into ash. So what did you think of that moment? Were you suspicious of that moment, that it was real?
I actually.
I mean,
it made it.
Go ahead.
I bought the bit because the idea that Trigon was able to stop the different people from coming,
right.
And this was the very first scene you saw of the darkness. Now, when she killed her, I'm like, okay, this is their messing with their heads.
Because obviously they're not going to kill Rachel off on the show.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. At least before Trigon gets taken care of, right? Exactly.
Right, exactly.
The next one of the next ones was Donna's, and that was I thought was the most interesting because
Yes.
we kind of see Donna watching herself as a young girl, trying to order some ice cream with her dad,
Yeah.
and of course the ice cream vendor is Trigon,
Yes.
and Donna starts panicking because she kind of realizes what day it is, and
Hmm.
we see there's a young Donna and her father go into this apartment building or whatever, and there's a fire. And
Yes.
obviously, this is a nod to in the comics of Donna's origin that there was this apartment fire, and that's where in the
Hmm.
comics she essentially becomes orphaned and gets taken in by Wonder Woman and raised on Paradise Island, Themyscira,
Hmm.
and as raised as Wonder Girl. But of course, we don't see Wonder Woman here. But I thought it was cool that we actually kind of got a little nod to that.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Um,
And it
the
sets up maybe a Who is Donna Troy episode down the line.
Yeah. Of all the people, and I think this show has done a good job of casting, but Connor Leslie
Yeah.
to me is just absolutely amazing, and partly because the way she interacts on social media, she's a real photographer. She seems to embrace this. She is just thrilled. She's had this part, and she posts a lot of candid on-set photos, and there seems to be a real bond between the whole cast. But she looks like Donna Troy. She acts like Donna Troy. She has a maturity that you could see her being the leader, and I just love watching her. And it wasn't like her darkness was reminding her of a bad time
You're right.
more than her making a bad decision.
Well,
Yeah.
it was kind of both, I think,
Okay.
because the arsonist that she confronts in the hallway, we kind of get, like obviously in the comics she was a baby, so there's
Yeah.
no way she could confront, the
Yeah.
arsonist, or if there
Good
wasn't,
point.
if there
Yeah.
was an arsonist. But here in the TV show, Donna is obviously older.
Hmm.
The modern day Donna, and she
Yeah.
sees the arsonist in the hallway and confronts him, throws him up against the wall. She's obviously angry about her father's death,
Hmm.
and the it causes her to lash out, and she throws him through the window. And
I'd
that's
forgotten that part.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's
No. Yeah. So
and
that is her darkness.
yeah, that's essentially her, that she makes
Yeah.
this choice to
Absolutely.
kill
Good
that
point.
guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. And we talked about Hank and Dawn. Um, and obviously, there's this very uncomfortable moment, obviously, after now that everybody's been corrupted, that Rachel, who we presume is the real Rachel, goes downstairs to the living room, and all the Titans are essentially aligned
Yeah.
with Trigon and Arella
Yes.
and Angela, and so doesn't look good really at this point because
No.
Rachel is
And
essentially by herself. Gar's there with her,
yeah.
but they're seriously outnumbered by this point.
Yeah. And she keeps. He was talking about. I have to break her heart. I have to break her heart.
Yeah.
And we get a nice payoff on that.
Yes, we do, and that kind of
Yeah.
sets up my next topic I want to talk
Okay.
about
Very
as we
nice.
move on to topic number 2. Every little thing she does is magic. So we
Ah.
had darkness, and every little thing she does is magic.
So are we doing police or Sting?
Well, both really, because
Yes,
Sting is in the
indeed.
police.
Yes.
As I hold up my brand new Sting action figure, my Funko figure that I
I
got.
so want a Springsteen Funko figure.
Yeah, see,
I love that.
because the police have their own, and I do.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yep. So I just picked that up. Yeah,
Okay, you
now
need to post.
now I just need to get Andy and Stuart.
Yeah,
Andy Summers and Stuart Copeland, the other two members of the band. But I kind
You
of
need to post a photo of that on the Titan Talk Facebook page.
But
We need to see that. So, all right, great.
But yeah, I thought
Cool.
it was very cool to see Sting in his prime with the police, and
Yes.
it was great. So it kind of got me in the mood.
Absolutely.
All right, so in topic number 2, every little thing she does is magic. I want to talk about Trigon, Arella, and Raven.
Okay.
So as we kind of set things up, this leads to the big confrontation between Rachel and her father,
Yes.
and Trigon kills, or essentially, like has Dick kill
hmm
Gar, and refuses to bring Gar back.
Right.
And
Not this time.
not this time, he and obviously because he's trying to break Rachel's heart. And as we find out, that is apparently the key to him staying in this dimension. And that's what all of this has been about breaking Rachel's heart so that Trigon can stay.
And once again, I want to give really kudos to Seamus Dever.
Yeah.
Long time part of the Castle cast.
Right.
Absolutely charming. He plays one of the detectives that works with Beckett. Kind of can be comedy relief. He also did some nice storylines. His actual real life wife played his wife on the show. I think he was just the right amount of charming and sinister. I think he did a great job of playing that.
Yeah,
and we got to actually see a more traditional.
Yeah,
that was nice.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to talk about next. Is that we go outside, and Rachel confronts her father. We get to see Trigon essentially as he kind of becomes synced up with this world, as his Raven's heart breaks.
Because her heart breaks,
we kind of see
he reaches in, takes her heart,
right,
and makes the jewel that goes on her forehead.
Yeah, he squishes that, and exactly. And so if you're a Raven fan, you had to be very happy that Raven finally got her forehead jewel.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so that was very cool if you're a Raven fan to see that now that Tegan Croft is rocking the forehead jewel.
Yeah.
And where she's told that this will give you the power to rule the universe or whatever with me. So essentially, there's like a little bit of Trigon's essence in that jewel, and obviously could set up his return at some point later on.
Yes.
So keep an eye on that, I'm sure. But essentially, it gives Raven more like power. It seems like that, and because of that, she ends up kind of after. Gar, who we thought was dead, turns out not to be dead. And we finally got to see him turn into a snake, something that wasn't a tiger. So how great was that?
Oh, were you just thrilled?
Yes.
I mean, because so far we've only and I kept waiting when the Dark Titans,
mm-hmm.
I kept waiting for him to change into something else to kind of fight them.
Right.
To show that he is
something besides
stronger than you think.
Yeah.
He
can be more than just a tiger.
Yeah. And so I loved seeing that the snake.
He turns into a python and kind of slithers across the floor and then gets up behind Rachel, who at this point is under Trigon's thrall, and then he grabs her hand.
Yes.
And it's his, I'm guessing, love for her.
Yeah.
And kind of reminding her of their friendship, at least. And that's what snaps her out of it.
Absolutely.
And gives her the strength to kind of, try to reach out to Dick and bring him back.
Yeah.
And so what did you think of the sequence where she brings Dick back in the Haley circus?
So I I love
on the trapeze. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea that she knows she has to go big,
Mm-hmm.
and she talks about and I don't remember in the comics, but I'm an old man. Raven and Dick having this kind of bond,
Right.
but in the TV show, it is very much even more than brother and sister. I mean, there is an
affection,
affection between them,
right?
That is so strong, and she believes in him so much, and him helping her helped eliminate some of the darkness that he was fighting, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to that topic.
Yeah.
So, for her knowing I believe I can do this, and to bring him where the scene where there is so much joy, but ultimately heartbreak, and to put him on the trapeze and her to jump, her to try to swing, and she's falling.
And at first, first he doesn't go and he doesn't try to catch her, and she just falls.
She's falling, and then you see, and it's a great payoff where you see him catching her the way he would as a trapeze artist, and I'm getting a little teary-eyed just talking about it, because it was perfect.
Yeah,
it was perfect to remember his roots, to remember where he's always been for people, and then okay, once you've got Rachel and you've got Dick and you've already got Gar, okay, you're now outnumbered. There is too much love, there is too much support, and it's greatness.
Yeah, it was good.
I mean, didn't you think it was perfect?
It was nice, and again, it kind of makes me wish they had saved this for the season finale, because it went all the way back to the pilot episode.
Oh yeah,
because that's how Raven first encounters Dick, was in that dream where he's dreaming of himself young, kind of thinking back to his parents' death at the Haley Circus, and so it kind of brought the season full circle, and that's why it kind of feels like this episode should have been the season 1 finale, and and it was I'm sure it was written that way to bring everything full circle. So with that done, she goes outside, she confronts Trigon, and this time she's kind of like after bringing Dick back, she's feeling a little more confident. She's a little, she's kind of strutting a little bit. She's a little cocky, and she's like, like he says, like, oh, you can join me or whatever, and we'll rule the universe together as father and daughter, to paraphrase a Star Wars line.
Yeah,
and she's like, yeah, well, I got things to do.
Yes,
and so she unleashes her power and essentially shreds him. And we kind of see him, like parts of his body start, his arms and legs kind of fall away, but he kind of falls back through what appears to be some kind of portal. Presumably he goes back to his own dimension.
Yeah.
So obviously we could see him again at some future point.
Yeah, and I think I thought they sold it really well.
Right.
That Trigon had, because this was her world, was counting on her to provide him a lot of the power.
Yeah.
And he thought he would corrupt her. And the reality is, while he's powerful, she's truly the true power in the family in this universe. So I thought it was great that she did that, and rocked it. It was perfect.
Yeah. Now, obviously, by this point, Trigon had been in his demon form, so we kind of see him as more of a hulking, demon-like creature, kind of more like from the comics, obviously.
Yeah.
He has this cool kind of moment where he's walking across the field outside the house, and everywhere he steps, the grass kind of withers and dies, and birds fall dead out of the sky, and
Right.
whatnot, showing his evil, corrupting influence.
Hmm.
Just everything he touches, becomes corrupted.
Hmm.
And I thought it was a pretty effective way to demonstrate his power
Yeah, I
without
agree.
actually doing anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was very visually interesting.
Hmm.
Obviously, once he's taken off the board, the other Titans kind of wake up and then and kind of snap out of their obviously Trigon's thrall, so they're back to normal.
Yes,
And then it's all
absolutely.
good, even though so they didn't really do anything. It was all just pretty much Rachel that saves the day here,
Right.
with a little help from Gar. But
Yeah, and there's that awkwardness of, sorry we beat you to death,
yeah,
Gar,
yeah, or yeah,
hey, it's all cool,
yeah,
and
yep.
mhm,
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that is obviously later on as they say goodbye. So,
yeah,
but yeah, there was everybody says their goodbyes since we're on the topic.
yeah,
Um, yeah, Hank kind of apologizes for that, and that was good.
mhm.
They kind of go their separate directions. Dick,
Yeah,
Dick, Dick, Dick ends up taking Jason and Gar and Rachel. They drive off in Donna's car, and which she gives is like, well, she goes, oh, you guys need this more than I do right now anyway. And um,
yeah, in
Hank
the
and Dawn
city,
kind
I don't need it anymore. Yeah,
yeah, and Hank and Dawn kind of go, well, we don't, thanks, but we're gonna go back and do our vigilante thing.
yeah,
And so they don't go along with him. And then Corey decides, that obviously with the revelation of that she's an alien and she's got to figure all that out.
hmm,
And so she decides to not go with them. Were you
yeah.
kind of surprised by that?
I actually wasn't. I figured that there's a lot going on,
Yeah,
and it made sense that they would start with the kids.
right.
Um, that um, Rachel is going to stick with Dick. Obviously, Gar wants to stay with Rachel, and I like the way he offered. It seats five.
Yeah,
We can hang out,
right.
and Corey's like, no, not now, and so I thought that was good. Um, I
So obviously we're
but
gonna
it
have to bring these crazy kids back
yeah,
together.
and I think that's okay, because I think they all have their own lives. Um, Hank and Dawn have their own life. There is still a little bit of awkwardness between Hank and Dick because of the what we assume was a love triangle. Donna has her own life where she's doing it, so that made sense to me. But you get the feeling that they're this extended family, and in fact, when Jason says Titans are back, witches
Yeah,
cleaning it up, that was you get that feeling that yes, they are a team. So I liked it a lot.
yeah, it was good. And it's kind of this point where the show kind of breaks and then goes into
Yeah.
season two from this point on.
Yes.
So let's move on to topic number three with that. Topic number three: every breath you take.
Ah,
Every
nice.
breath you take. And for Deathstroke, I want to talk about here, and
Ah,
Wintergreen,
okay.
because Deathstroke's been watching some TV, as it turns out, and sees Jason doing his, Titans are back,
Yeah.
and is like, Titans are back. And
Yeah.
then, so we kind of get the impression that, okay, he's got some previous history with the Titans, and he decides to come out of retirement, and really ends up hooking up with Wintergreen, and Wintergreen kind of ask him if they're back in business. So, what did you think of this whole sequence?
So, I had forgotten that Morales had been cast.
Esai Morales, yeah,
Yeah, and so I didn't recognize him at first till after he kind of cleaned up. He'd shaped up the beard,
Right.
The goatee,
Yeah, because
and everything.
he's apparently been hanging out this like remote log cabin in the woods that
Yeah,
has a broken mirror, and he's just using like a wash basin
yeah,
to
yeah,
clean himself,
yeah. He's
and
truly kind of just staying.
secluded off the
Yeah.
grid. Yeah,
Hmm.
and
And
we see his hands kind of shaking a little bit.
yeah.
What did you think of that moment? Is it you think that maybe he's having some health problems?
Well, and it could be some of the steroids work that
Yeah.
he uses to be
Yeah,
Deathstroke.
the chemicals that he was in
Yeah,
that gave him 90% control over his brain power. Yeah,
yeah. This is one of our favorite, and one of my favorite villains in the
Yeah.
DC universe.
right.
Loving the Titans so much, I always thought he was an interesting character. This actor has the chops to do good things with him if they give him some good storylines. I thought it was a little funny. They were complaining about the blood, with wintergreen,
Right.
kind of lemon juice and combine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was just enough tease to go, okay, because I had brought up to you last season, or when we've talked about Titan
Right.
News,
Right.
seems like too much is going on this season.
Right.
There's too many juggling storylines. So I'm glad they wrapped up Trigon very quickly.
Yes.
They got rid of the
needed
extra
to.
Titans for now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
They've got our core group, and then we'll expand from there. So
Yeah.
yes, I was very happy.
Yeah, I was glad the way they structured it too, because I was worried they're going to throw too much at us at once
Yeah.
this season because of introducing all these new characters.
Right.
And the way they did it, they spent 2/3 of the episode dealing with the Trigon thing, resolved that in a very tidy fashion, then moved forward, which is the way they had to do it. And all they introduced Bruce, they introduced Deathstroke, and they introduced Wintergreen, and that's all they introduced. We didn't get to see any of the other characters they're going to be introducing.
No, Superboy and all the other stuff.
Yeah. And so it wasn't overwhelming to the viewer. No. And Esai Morales, he doesn't get to do a whole lot. He's essentially like, okay, I'm coming back. I go home, and Wintergreen lets me into my own home.
Yeah.
Like, for whatever reason, he didn't remember the code to his gate, but he remembers the code to his secret room with the weapons.
Yeah. I did curious. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and here he's cleaned up, obviously. He's cleaned himself up a little bit. He looks more like the Slade Wilson that we know from the comics.
Yeah.
And Esai makes a really good Slade Wilson. He looks very formidable. He's got the old goatees. He has gray hair. So we finally get to have a Deathstroke with gray hair. I'm so happy about that.
I think that...
white hair, yeah.
Because with Arrow, they had used, Deathstroke.
Yeah, with Manu Bennett.
A character, yeah. And that's a great actor. I mean,
right.
I loved him in Spartacus. But I think the new costume looks good.
Yeah.
So because they didn't want to do a direct copy
right.
of what was in Arrow, so I thought it's close enough to the comic series. I think he'll be a very interesting foil to the series.
Yeah, obviously, the Deathstroke and Arrow and the Deathstroke here in Titans, even though they're both Berlanti productions, they're not the same Deathstroke.
Exactly.
Titans and that's probably why we're not going to see the Titans in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, unfortunately, is that they seem to be in different continuities. But how cool would that have been, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But here, this is a much more, if you're a fan of the classic Wolfman and Perez era, and Deathstroke from that era, and that he was essentially the new Teen Titans arch enemy. And such a good villain. So it was great to see him here, and so it's I think Esai Morales, it was inspired casting, but it works, and he seems to be doing a good job so far. So we'll see how it goes.
I agree.
And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. But he seems like a much more calculating Deathstroke than Arrow's Deathstroke is.
Yes, absolutely, and more in line with the comic.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, much more methodical, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
And subdued. Not so, over the top.
Yeah.
All right. Topic number 4. Secret Journey. So we had Darkness, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic, Every Breath You Take, and Secret Journey. They're obviously all Police songs.
Yes.
Most of them are from Ghost in the Machine, the Police's 4th album. But I had to throw Every Breath You Take in there because it fits so well with Deathstroke. Being kind of stalking the Titans, watching TV. So here I want to talk about Bruce and Dick.
Okay.
And I really like this conversation.
I was going to be crushed if you didn't.
No, because
it was everything you want.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't know if Iain Glen would work in a Batman suit.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
he certainly
Bruce
has the
Wayne,
height and he has the jawline and the build for it. He could pull it off, but he is obviously older.
And to have him...
He would make a great Dark Knight Returns Batman.
Yes. The affection he's showing Bruce of Dick, their talk, the ease that they both share with each other.
Yeah.
Sharing the jokes, Dick saying, not answering a question, he says cryptic, and
Bruce, because
Bruce
he's all
smiles.
Bruce being always cryptic, appreciated that. He's like, "Hey, cryptic, well done."
Mm-hmm. Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
I love this conversation. I thought it was. I mentioned this to my wife Lori as we were watching this.
Yeah,
that to me it felt like one of the most conversations these two characters have ever had.
Regardless of the media.
Yeah, in the comics or in movies or TV shows ever.
Yeah.
It's like they actually sit down, they talk to one another like adults. They don't try to, like Bruce doesn't try to intimidate Dick. Dick doesn't get angry with Bruce. They sit down like adults and hash it out. And we see how Dick has changed and even tells Bruce, "Hey, look, I had this darkness, but I think I finally worked through it."
Yeah, and I wanted to blame you.
Yeah.
But then I also realized you were just doing what you thought was best to help me cope with my heartbreak and pain. It was well done. When he talks about, I have a favor.
Right.
And he mentions San Francisco, and he's like, "Oh, you're going to do this again."
Yeah.
And then he has the one
condition.
Bruce, you have one condition. And then you hear
Jason.
Jason, okay, see, I'm not thinking as a demotion. It's a reassignment.
Yeah, relocation. So
yeah.
So essentially, the condition was that Dick take Jason and make him part of the group to kind of, as Bruce say, has some rough edges that needed sanding.
Yeah. By the way, I think they redeemed Jason a lot at the very early when he's talking to Hank and Dawn, where he said, it didn't end well with Dick and I owe him.
Right.
And I thought that was really well done to show Jason maturity is the wrong word, but he's trying to be better. I got
that. I took that scene as Jason was telling Hank what he wanted to hear, so that Hank and Dawn would take him along.
I thought he was sincere.
I thought he was manipulating.
But then I'm the optimistic. So we'll wait and see.
All right, we'll see.
Here we go.
Doesn't matter. Yes. But you notice that since we're kind of on the subject of Jason really quickly, him and Hawk are obviously butting heads. He and Hawk are butting heads throughout most of this episode. And Jason's attitude is like, you like me. And Hawk is like, never going to happen. So obviously, probably by the end of this season, Hawk will say that he likes Jason, presumably.
Yeah, and I think he already feels a little bit when he said not going to happen. There is some nice chemistry with all the Titans.
Yeah, I think they're the reason.
Yeah,
Obviously, those two characters butt heads is they're just both alike. They're
yeah,
both very
exactly.
similar. They're both
Absolutely.
hotheads. They're both cocky. So, um, obviously that's kind of I think why they
Yeah.
have that friction. Yeah, so we kind of end with Dick bringing them out to San Francisco. They got this new location, pretty stylish new headquarters.
Great sets.
Great living, great living room set.
Yeah, I love the way,
I
and
want that
then
apartment.
yeah, and they saw the workout room.
Yeah,
Um,
of course, Jason finds the gym,
and I
and
love the way the youthful enthusiasm
yeah,
of Gar
and Jason
and
running off.
Jason running through and looking to see, and they, do I get the bigger bedroom? And you just
Rachel says,
uh
"No, never. No, that's not going to happen. Keep
yeah,
dreaming."
uh-huh.
So,
So yeah, I like this. Now I read somewhere um one of the reviews of the premiere
hmm
said this was slightly a retcon, that the first season had implied that Hawk and Dove were these kind of under the radar
right.
vigilantes, but
I
now
take.
that it's very clear
Yeah,
that they were part of the Titans,
yeah,
so they wouldn't have they would have been a little more well known.
yeah.
Um,
Now remember, I pointed out when we talked about season one was that there was this photo in Hank's and Dawn's apartment
yeah,
of Hank, Dawn,
yeah,
Dick, and Donna together.
yeah, yeah.
So they obviously knew each other,
Right.
and
And so if it's a slight retcon, it doesn't matter
it
because
doesn't
it's
matter at
very
all.
slight.
Yeah,
I think it's really nice that those four had a
yeah,
history, and now then Dick is doing West Coast Titans 2.0.
yeah,
Um I love that it's in San Francisco,
yeah.
which is a great city, a little bit different
Right.
set. So and in
I think that's Jeff Johns' influence, by the way, because
yeah.
he based his Teen Titans run in on the West Coast.
Okay. And then during the fantasy season,
Yeah.
the fantasy episode, Dick was living in California.
Right. Exactly.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, they wrapped up everything really well, and they set us up for, I think it's going to be a great season.
Yeah. And for everybody wondering, what was that dedication at the end of the episode? That was to Warren Appleby, the special effects coordinator that died during filming, presumably during a special effects scene that went horribly wrong. That was back in July 2019. So they kind of paid. If you were wondering who that was, that's who that was.
Thank you. I was not sure who it was, and
Yeah.
so that's very nice.
Yeah. So that's the guy
Yeah.
that died during the filming this season.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
all right. Let's move on. Favorite lines of this episode.
I did not write any that late at night.
Okay.
Do you have any you want to
Yes.
share?
Yes,
By
I
the
do.
way, did you notice that the only character that on the credits is Robin? They gave Bob Kane and Bill Finger.
Yeah.
No one else did they give a credit to. Did you see any?
I didn't.
Okay.
But that kind of really annoys me because, especially with Deathstroke, I think
Yeah.
maybe there was a Deathstroke credit to Marv
I
Wolfman and
did not
George Perez,
see it,
but I didn't see it.
but
Yeah, there should have
Okay.
been, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they've been really Titans is Doom Patrol has been credits their creators all over the place, but Titans for whatever
Yeah.
reason doesn't, and it
I
annoys
don't
me.
know. The only thing I was very sad. It just never worked out. Athena Finger,
Yeah,
Bill Finger's daughter, was at Dragon Con, and I was hoping to try to go by her table and talk to her. And every time I went by, she wasn't there. I would have
Yeah.
liked to talk to her.
yeah. I'm sure she's got some stories.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Favorite lines. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
Donna, once again, surprise, gets a lot of the best lines.
She's just amazing.
So, the sass. I love sassy Donna. That goes
Yes.
without saying. I love Connor Leslie getting to be it because it gives Donna more personality, I think, than she does
Absolutely.
than she has generally in the comics, where she has personality, but she's it's not as distinctive, I think, and as it
Yes.
is here. Donna and Corey have a great exchange where Corey's trying to blast through the force field
Yeah.
to get into the house to fight, to rescue Rachel, and Donna says, okay, now that she and Dick are in there with some intergalactic demon, maybe you could try something that might actually work. And Corey comes back, like what, Donna? Or were you hoping that the sheer force of your criticism would save her? So
that's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Donna's reaction to Jason, seeing Jason Todd for the first time, where he's all swagger and coming up and like, hey, because Donna and Corey were fighting. He makes this comment about, hey, you guys could keep that up. And like that was looking kind of hot or something to that effect. And Donna looks at him and looks him over with disdain and goes, "What the F is that? And why is it wearing Dick's costume?"
Yes.
So I love that.
Nice.
I love that she refers to Jason as it.
Yes.
That was pretty funny.
Absolutely.
As a thing. Another Donna and Corey exchange where Donna goes, where she's introducing Corey to Hank and Dawn. She goes, Hank, Dawn, this is Corey Anders. She's an alien. And then Corey kind of gives her a look and she goes, what? It's true. And Corey kind of slyly goes, you could have put a little more love into that.
Yes, I like that.
That was kind of funny.
Absolutely.
And so hopefully, we're going to see some kind of sisterly relationship between Donna and Corey this season. We'll see how that goes. I hope so. Another Donna line. Donna says, as everybody's kind of saying goodbye, she goes, maybe give us a heads up next time so I can do my own eye makeup. Your demon dad wasn't much for subtlety. So I thought that was good. And lastly, exchange between Rachel and Dick, where Rachel kind of interrupts as Dick's talking to Corey. And Rachel says, another mystery? And Dick says, get used to it. Life's a lot better with them. And Rachel comes back and says, that sounds like something Batman would say.
I like that.
So I thought that was good. So I love the fact that Dick actually was showing a sense of humor at the end of this episode.
Oh, yeah, when he says, are we going to be Batman this time? Yeah. And he goes, no, Superman. Yeah. Just kidding. It was just perfect. Like, he knew how to push Gar's buttons. Yeah. That was great.
But he was doing it in a friendly way. And then,
just in a loving...
And, one of my criticisms, and I'm sure a lot of fans' criticisms of Season 1, was that Dick Grayson was so angry and violent and just not like the Dick Grayson that we know. Yeah. And here at the end of this episode, I think we finally get the Dick Grayson that we wanted from the start.
I agree.
So it's almost like, Dick Grayson 2.0.
Yes, I agree.
And hopefully that's here to stay. So,
yes.
All right. What's your rating for this one?
I really, really like this one. I thought it was off to a great start. My slight nitpick is the actual, as you and I have discussed, this probably would have better served at the end of last season.
Right.
But that's nitpicking. I give it 9 out of 10 afternoon tea with Bruce.
Excellent. I'm a little under yours, simply for the fact that the first 2/3 of this episode was essentially cleanup for Season 1.
Okay.
And it wasn't, it kind of felt like Season 1. It didn't feel like an improvement so much as it just kind of a continuation. But then the last third made up for that, in my opinion, a lot. So I give it 8.5. I give it 8.5 out of 10 forehead jewels in honor of Rachel finally rocking that forehead jewel.
Okay.
And looking a lot more like her traditional self. So very glad about that. So solid introduction. Hopefully we're in for better days ahead now that Season 1 has kind of cleared away. It's been kind of brushed aside, and now we can kind of move things forward, hopefully, with the show. And hopefully with
look at you.
Yeah, look at that.
The better days. Another Springsteen reference.
No. That's just sheer optimism. Hopefully.
No. That's one of my favorite Springsteen songs. So there you go.
How about Glory Days?
All right.
How's that? All right. So real quick, Titans Tower news I just have is that there was an Entertainment Weekly interview recently with executive producer Greg Walker. says that in this season we're going to get Deathstroke's wife Adeline,
Oh, nice.
and we're also going to get his origin, which, if you remember from the Judas Contract storyline, which they're adapting,
Hmm.
that was an important part. That was like the second part of the Judas Contract. So
Yeah.
I'm glad we're getting that this season.
Yeah, and the you may be talking about this, but
Yeah.
the episode title for next week.
Yes, I was going to set that up.
Good.
Yes.
Okay, please.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Let
So
me toss you the ball so you can dunk it.
yeah. I was just going to say that. Next time on Titan Talk, obviously we're going to talk Rose, and that's the second episode of Titan Season 2, obviously. And that is obviously a reference to Rose Wilson, the daughter of Deathstroke, who's
Right.
going to be played on this show by Chelsea Zhang. And I like the fact that maybe we're just going to kind of get a one by one introduction to all these new characters and hopefully give them their moment in the sun and make it not
Yes.
so overwhelming. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
if you've read the Judas Contract, you know that Deathstroke has someone working for him
Yes.
against the Titans. And
Right.
my theory, in the comics, that's Terra. But
Yeah.
but my theory is that Rose Wilson, aka Ravager, is going to be the Terra of this season.
So you think she's going to
Yes.
come in as a possible Titan,
Yes.
and then they'll betray her.
Betray. Yeah. So that's
Okay.
that's my theory. I have no foreknowledge, nothing official.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I'm right about that.
Okay. Very good. All right. Nice.
All right. So
Okay.
we don't, obviously, since we're back, after 3 months off, we don't have any Titan Talk, Tell It to Titan Talk letters from everybody on Gmail. So please write to us at TitanTalkCast@gmail.com. Tell us what you thought about this episode, Trigon, or what you're looking forward to. Next week's episode, Rose. What do you think about that as you watch it? Or what you're looking forward to about the upcoming season? Let us know, because we'd love to hear from you, and we'd be more than happy to read your emails right here on Titan Talk. So
Absolutely.
we'd love to hear from you. We know you're out there, Titans fans. I've seen the downloads. So even in our off months. So now that Titans is back, let's hear from you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Good.
So, otherwise, in the meantime, you can reach out to us on Twitter at Titan Talkcast or on Facebook at Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. Please like and follow us there. I think we've got close to, 150 likes on Facebook, which is awesome.
Yes.
Obviously, we'd love to get over 150, head toward 200 if that's possible. So if you're
Absolutely.
not already liking us on Facebook, please do. And please follow us on Twitter at Titan Talkcast. We definitely appreciate that. Jesse, how about you? Where can they reach you?
So you can reach me on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can find me on Facebook at Jesse Jackson, Louisville, Texas. You can hear me talk about Doctor Who with my partner in time, Charles Skaggs. Right now, I'm talking about once a month, but the other 2 or 3 months of the 2 or 3 weeks of the month, Charles is having guest companions where we go through the great Doctor Who series, both modern and classic. And we may have to talk about my 2 seconds with David Tennant at our next recording. And then you can also hear me talk about all things Bruce Springsteen and music, which, by the way, Charles, today as recording this, 9/8 is the 4th anniversary of my very first episode of Set Listing Bruce.
Awesome.
So,
happy anniversary.
Thank you. So, and you can, it is Set Listing Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast.
Yeah. Yours truly actually recorded a special birthday greeting to Bruce.
Yes, you did. And also did, I also will talk about Dragon Con in an upcoming episode, probably on Tour de Cons. We'll come up with.
Right.
And I did want to mention that currently we are at 15 ratings on iTunes. So we would love to get more of that. Our most recent review was from the great Holly Mack on April 2019. So if you can, go to iTunes, rate and review us. Charles, where can they find you?
Yeah, and so obviously, as for me, I'm at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram. Facebook, of course, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio. We'd definitely appreciate it if you like and follow me there. Otherwise, my blog of geeky things. Come on, you.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot, where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on Titan Talk. Titans news, comic book on TV news, all kinds of movie, sci-fi, goodness, news of my other podcasts that I do for Southgate Media, including the aforementioned Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast that I do with Jesse and other special guest companions. And also the Phantom Zone podcast that Jesse and I just kind of wrapped up recently, that we do, where we're talking Krypton and the boys and other stuff. And Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast they do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic book artist Chris Sprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, etc., etc. We'd definitely appreciate you checking those out as well. They're a lot of fun, and hope you enjoy them. So, other than that, Jesse, thank you so much. Hope everybody's enjoyed our first episode back for Season 2 of Titans. And looking forward to the next one. We're going to talk Rose next time right here on Titan Talk. It's going to be a lot of fun. Jesse, any final words before we sign off?
No, it is good to be back, Titans. I will thank you in advance as we adjust our recording time based on NFL schedules. But this will be a fun season, and they are off to a good start, so this should be fun.
See, it wouldn't be such a problem if you would start following an AFC team as opposed to those horrible NFC teams that suck.
Oh, no.
All right. So, everybody, go Browns, and everybody come on back for Rose, the second episode of Titans. It's going to be good, and we'll see you right here next time on Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. Bye, everybody.